To our webinar titled Hiring, Training, Employees, and Funding Resources. So before we dive into our presentation, we'd just like to highlight a little bit about the Innovation Quarters and the Regional Business Center, who are the hosts of the event today. With the Innovation Quarters, as you see up on screen, we offer a 6-month-long incubator program that helps new startups succeed. And we offer one-on-one mentoring, programming and training, networking and events, and a beautiful collaborative workspace, as you can see in some of the photos. So our quarters are open to the public. You can come rent desk space, come use some of the rooms, or you can apply to our incubator program, which is really amazing and it's free at innovationquarters.ca. And the Regional Business Center is a one-stop shop for information and guidance on starting, expanding, and operating a business. They're proud to serve the Greater Sudbury, Espanola, Manitoulin Island, and the surrounding areas. And their services, well, those include confidential one-on-one consultations, business plan support, market research, business registration for sole proprietorships and partnerships, and more. So if you just really have questions like, how do I get started? Or I'm not quite sure how to go about starting a business, or I want to register, but I don't know how, please go ahead on their website at regionalbusiness.ca, book a meeting, and they'll be happy to help you with that. They also offer some programs, which we'll be posting about pretty soon. And upcoming webinars, we have our entrepreneurship series, which is a rotating 5-series webinar model. So upcoming, we have business model canvas, which is really great, and then market research in November. Also happening on November 14th, we have BIPOC plus business opportunities and resources. So for those of you who don't know what BIPOC stands for, it's for Black, Indigenous, people of color. We include the plus there to, include anybody who might be a minority in Greater Sudbury. And that's going to be presented by Charles Bhatia from NOBEEP, which is the Northern Ontario Black Economic Empowerment Program. They have a place downtown and they're really great for supporting Black-owned businesses. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about resources and opportunities that they're going to present about. And then on the 28th, we have networking and how to build business partnerships. That's going to be presented by Jennifer Self, and she's from the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Sudbury. Really great topic, and that's actually something that people have requested for. So how do I go about meeting other business owners and building those partnerships? So it's going to be a really great month of webinars. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers today. So we've got Dhwani Bhatia, and she's the Organizational Change Manager at Spark Employment Services. Dhwani oversees employment services focusing on career counseling, job development, and employer partnerships. She holds credentials in HR and business psychology from Cambridge College and the London School of Economics, and is working towards her Certified Human Resources Leader designation. I actually had to look up what the acronym meant, so happy to spell it out for everybody. And then Dhwani brings expertise in DEI, conflict resolution, and leadership development. Welcome, Dhwani. And second, we have Pierre Seguin. Since 2001, Pierre Seguin has been the Northern Development Advisor with the Regional Economic Development Branch of the Ontario Ministry of Northern Development in Sudbury, Ontario. So Pierre will speak about how the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation, so also known as NOHFC, the programs from NOHFC provide financial support under its 4 main programs, and which Pierre is going to just focus on in his presentation, the People and Talent Program, and that has to do with hiring. So welcome both. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then maybe we can get started with Pierre.
Thank you, Melissa, and very well done on those acronyms from government. So I appreciate that very much. Just going to share my screen. You should see a black screen, which is on purpose. And the biggest acronym is the NOHFC that you just used, Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation. So let me just bring that up here. There we go. So NOHFC program overview. So this presentation itself is actually designed to talk about all of the programs, but I'm going to focus on, as Melissa just said, the People and Talent Program, which is the one where you can actually get some funding to hire an individual or 2. Each company is entitled to 2 at any one time. And I'll go through some of the requirements, some of the guidelines, and the types of positions that they're looking at offering some support for. So let me dive right in here. NRCC launched some new programs in February of 2021, and those 4 main programs were targeting business support, community enhancement, workforce development, and cultural support with 8 different funding streams. So as you can see here, Invest North has the innovation stream, investment stream. Community enhancement talks about rural enhancement funding streams, enhancing your community streams. And then there's a cultural supports program talking about community events, and then a film and television stream. I'm not going to spend any time unless there's some questions at the end on those. Where I'm going to spend most of my time today is the People and Talent Program, which is broken out into 2 different streams, the Indigenous Workforce Development Stream, as well as the Workforce Development Stream. So they're very close in name, very close in intent, purpose, eligibility requirements, but there are some differences which I will highlight for you as we go through. So who do we serve? I actually work for the Ministry of Northern Development, as Melissa indicated in my introduction. So I am not part of the NOHFC decision-making process. So any feedback or insight I give you is just that, advice and guidance. But we as a ministry serve Northern Ontario. So we are geographically based. So North Bay, Parry Sound, all the way north to the Manitoba and Quebec borders. So it's a vast geography and includes our areas of focus, our economic development funding towards approved projects in some of those districts. I won't list them all. You can see them on screen, but needless to say that it represents, 80% of the province territory, but only about 10% the population. So you can well imagine we've got a lot of different areas to cover, but we do have, as a ministry, area teams in each of those districts that are listed here. So we have an office in Kenora, which includes some of the areas around Thunder Bay, Sault Ste. Marie, Timmins, and then we have an office in Sudbury and North Bay, of which I'm part of, which includes an office on Manitoulin Island and in Parry Sound. So the People and Talent Program, let's get right into what it is that we're looking at talking about today. So it's designed to attract, retain, and develop Northern Ontario's workforce. Got some more details on that for you here. So it's comprised of 2 funding streams, as I've already indicated to you. The Indigenous Workforce Development Program, which is designed to strengthen and develop Northern Ontario's Indigenous workforce through business partnerships by offering internships to Indigenous persons. And I'll get into a little bit more detail about that in a moment. The Workforce Development Program, same thing, strengthening and developing Ontario's workforce through business partnerships by offering internships. So 2 different areas of focus, but same intended results at the end of the day. So the Indigenous Workforce Development Stream. So who's eligible? I'll start right in there. Businesses, municipalities, Indigenous communities, and not-for-profit organizations located in Northern Ontario that have been in operation for at least 1 year and have a minimum of 1 full-time employee. And that's related back to the requirement that the intern has access to daily on-site supervision. So that is something that needs to be taken into consideration. Telework or remote work is not allowed anymore. It was during the height of the COVID pandemic, but it is not at this time something that they are looking at supporting. So they're looking for somebody to work in the office with a supervisor or manager, somebody they report to on site as well. So what is not eligible? And I apologize, I'm doing a lot of reading. I just want to make sure I don't miss any points here. But all of this information is available on the website. I will put up that website again at the end. But for anybody looking for further information, I'll have that on my last slide as well. Discretionary benefits paid by the employer are not eligible. So any additional outside of the required benefits are not eligible. Training expenses are not eligible, which is why I'm glad we've got Spark on the call today, because they've got some support there potentially. Computers, equipment, travel, and accommodations are also not eligible. Positions that displace existing employees are not eligible. So this is not meant as a, oh, I've got access to funding, let me, bring in a new intern to do the same position as I've had before. So something to keep in mind. The other three here are more the type of position that they're looking at supporting. So these are not eligible, these three bullet points. Positions that involve general, manual labor, or that require minimal training, which includes typically less than 6 months of education, are not typically deemed eligible. Positions that are clerical in nature, so answering phones, filing, those types of things, those are not things that the NHSC is necessarily looking at supporting. Again, the intent of the program is to develop that individual to be better prepared for the workforce. So if it's too generic or too clerical, as the word is used in this bullet point, they're not necessarily looking at that one. And then positions, the last bullet point, positions that involve retail and general sales are also not necessarily the areas of focus. So they're looking for trades positions, maybe some accounting, some marketing, some management, those types of things are potentially eligible. So what is eligible? I've given you a list of what's not. Here's, a summary of what is. Basically, it's the salaries and wages of and employer portion of the mandatory employment-related costs for an internship position of at least 52 weeks, or of 52 weeks, I should say. In some cases, they allow 2 years, but those are for designated programs where the schooling requires more than 52 weeks. An apprentice is probably a good example. Welding, engineering, doctor, those types of things where they have to do more than 52 weeks of work before they get their certification. At 35 hours per week, so it has to be full-time. And in this case, we're talking about the Indigenous workforce stream. So this is for Indigenous candidates that identify as an Indigenous person, including First Nation, Métis, or Inuit. A person who is a new entrant into the workforce or transitioning to a new career, also including the unemployed or underemployed who are entering a new field. So if I'm working now in government, obviously, and I decide to move into a marketing role with a separate employer, I am therefore moving into or transitioning to a new career in marketing. I could be potentially eligible. Now, in this case, I'm talking about the Indigenous workforce. I do not self-identify as Indigenous, so I would not qualify for this program, but I would qualify for the workforce development program. The last three bullet points here: have not previously participated in an NHSC funded position, and must be at least 18 years of age, and I must reside, or the individual must reside and be legally entitled to work in Canada. So fairly high level, but specific enough to get you some good context around what it is they're looking at supporting. The People and Talent program offers the following funding. So for municipalities, Indigenous communities, and not-for-profit organizations, they can get up to 90% of an individual's salary to a maximum of $35,000 per year. If it's a business who is supplying, they can also get a percentage, but in this case, it's 75% of an Indigenous intern salary to a maximum of $52,500 per year. All of the funding is identified as the term used here is conditional contribution. That means it's not a loan, it's not repayable. You have to incur the costs up front and then ask for reimbursement from the NHSC once a project's been approved through the application and review process. The workforce development stream is very much the same. I'm not going to read all of them again because I just read them from the 2 slides ago. But again, you've got that 1 year requirement, at least one full-time employee. And what's not eligible, same thing, training, expenses, existing employee that you'd be replacing, general manual labor, clerical, and retail and general sales. So very much the same thing, except that the individual is not identified as an Indigenous person in this case. Funding is the same thing, salaries and wages, 52 weeks at 35 hours per week. and the candidate must be a new entrant into the workforce, transitioning to a new career, unemployed or underemployed who's entering a new field, and the same last three, not a previous NHSC funded position, at least 18 years of age, and must reside and legally be entitled to work in Canada. So a lot of time, a lot of slides, but basically just reconfirming the same information. The only difference is the individual that you would be hiring. Municipalities and sorry, the funding for municipalities in this case is 90%, but instead of the higher amount, it is limited to 35,000 per year under the workforce versus Indigenous stream. And for businesses, it is also 50% of an intern's salary to a maximum of 35,000 per year. So obviously you're paying 70,000 and claiming back up to half of what has been paid to that individual. So those are the two major changes, 35,000 per year versus, I'm just gonna go back here, versus 90% to 35,000 or 75% for a private sector business to a maximum of 52,000 per year. So let me jump ahead. Sorry to move back and forth so much here. So the Regional Economic Development Branch, which is the branch that I work with at the Ontario Ministry of Northern Development, we work with northern communities, businesses, and other stakeholders to identify economic development opportunities to access government funding. So we are here to help all clients. So I showed you 8 programs. I'm only talking about one today, but there is an apply online button. And if you need some help, there's some different numbers. The number that you see here for Sudbury North Bay is a general line, and they will assign you to the correct person depending on what area you're in. These other numbers are other area teams, so Kenora, Sioux, Thunder Bay, and Timmins, which I've already mentioned to you just briefly. I will give you my email address and the NHSC website again. That takes care of the information I wanted to share. But there's my email address. I would suggest you start with that first. If you don't remember the name or number or email address, I should say, reach out to Melissa. She has my contact information as well, or that telephone number that was there, which is also on the NHSC website, is a way that you can actually get to it. So the NHSC website is here. I'm going to see if I can pull it up for you just so you get a visual of what it looks like. Slide it over to the right. So NHSC programs, and you would be going into the People and Talent program. If I click there just real quick to show you one more thing, there is an Apply Now button, so you can actually apply online. You will need to create a username and password, and then fill out the appropriate application. There's one application for each of the different programs that the NHSC has. If you are looking for help and support, as I said, there is a number of Q&As here, and contacting us. That phone number should come up here as well. There's a 800 number you can use as well, a couple different options for you. So anyway, that's it. I do have a slide that says questions, but I know we are doing questions at the end. So if you have any, jot them down and we will take them after Dhwani's presentation as well. That's all I had. Thank you very much. I will stop sharing my screen and turn it over to Dhwani with Spark and information on what they can offer.
Thank you, Pierre. I would first of all introduce myself again. My name is Dhwani. I'm with Spark Employment Services. And like Melissa introduced, we are here to inform about all the services that we have, along with some grant opportunities available for employers for training their staff. I will go ahead and share my presentation. Just a sec. And I believe everyone should be able to see it. So thank you for joining us here. We'll start by going over what Spark does and a little bit about the mission, vision, and values that Spark has. So Spark's mission is to support and provide quality, accessible services responsive to the needs of the job seekers as well as the employers through individualized solutions and mutually beneficial partnerships. Our vision is to have a dynamic and a prosperous community, and we achieve that vision and mission through our values of inclusivity, empowerment, compassion, and respect. That being said, let me see. That being said, we will go over just very briefly what we do with the job seekers so that you guys can get a wholesome lens for how we support the employers. So if an individual is looking for any kind of career or work change, we have tons of services available for job seekers, from personalized employment solutions to career development, workshop and e-learning options, training and skills development opportunities, a little bit of job development, which we'll discuss in further detail. We also have access to virtual reality component, which allows the job seekers to try the position before they dive into the training or before they want to go ahead and use their skills on the job. We also have a specialized program called Edge Plus, which is geared towards supporting people with self-identified disability and bridging that gap that they are currently seeing in the workforce. Moving on to our employer services. So as the topic suggests, hiring, training employees, and funding resources for the employers, we are going to dive into what we can do with the employer. So as Spark, we do have a range of support that we can provide, from subsidized job placements to some training incentives, some on-the-job coaching and mentoring. There is a pool of pre-screened candidates that are available, some free job posting, reducing the training and employment cost, and there's wage subsidy. I know I did go over a little bit quick, so we are going to go into each one of them in further detail. We'll start with subsidized job placement. So the benefit of subsidized job placement or the concept of subsidized job placement is if an employer chooses to hire or wants to try out an individual who is currently registered with us, we commit to subsidizing their job. What that means is we allow the employer to train and test that individual while just ensuring that their training and their employment cost is not incurred by the employer itself. So we do help them reduce their hiring cost by providing a subsidy up to $6,000, depending on the position that the individual is taking and how long the placement is going to be. We also help in mitigating the risk of not having a ready candidate. And when we talk about mitigating risk, it is primarily when an employer is choosing, and we all see that when we try and hire individuals through sites, sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. Having a soft couch, on the other hand, like Spark, which helps us mitigate that risk and make sure that if an individual is not present, there is someone else to take that position so that the employer does not suffer their daily cost and coverage that is supported. We also provide improved retention through subsidized job placement. If you or if an employer chooses to hire this individual moving forward with the placement, we provide some retention support as well. That could look anywhere from providing some kind of travel support to some kind of work material that would be required, or any kind of PPE support, whatever that is required to make this individual a better fit for the organization. Employers under a subsidized job placement would have access to the whole talent pool, and that talent pool comes from all the job seekers who are coming in looking for position and are registered with us. Also, you guys or employers are supporting their community and giving job seekers an opportunity to re-enter into the workforce, thus creating a positive public image for the employer. And there is always additional support. At the beginning of the presentation, I had mentioned we do individualized and customized supports. That's where this comes in. If an employer is looking for a customized support in regards with the job placement, our job developers do visit the employer. There is a whole monitoring section that is done with the employer as well as the job seeker to ensure that the transition is going smoothly. Our next service here is job coaching and job mentorship. So from the perspective of Employment Ontario, job coaching is a personalized support service designed to assist individuals in securing and maintaining employment. So if an employer has chosen to hire externally or internally through Spark, our job developers can definitely assist our employers in ensuring that they or the new job seeker has all the services that are required for their success in the role. Job coaching involves working closely with the job seeker to help them develop their skills, strategies, and confidence necessary to succeed in the workplace. Job coaching strategies can include, but not limited to, individualized support for employers and employee, some on-the-job support, some problem solving and advocacy, as well as long-term success planning with the employer. The other set of services that we have for employers is job matching and recruitment support. This is definitely something which goes very closely with the hiring needs of an employer. So Spark offers multiple services when it comes to supporting employers with their hiring needs, be it free job postings. So Spark allows the employers, if you guys are registered with Spark Employment or choose to register with Spark, we ensure that an employer has an array of free job posting platforms, including a website, including some job boards, and also some physical job boards within the city. We have another option of job matching, which is primarily connecting the right job seeker who is registered, as well as the employer's opportunity in ensuring that that's a good match. There is also some pre-recruitment support that Spark can assist you with. If you are a small employer and you are starting out and you're not sure what position would be required or how should the job description look like, what should be the roles, that's where Spark can also assist the employers. There's onboarding support that Spark would be happy to provide, which would include creating onboarding training for the new individual, ensuring that the training goals are met in a timely manner, ensuring if there is any additional support required to ease that transition, Spark can assist with that as well. That being said, at the end, if an individual or if an employer has gone through all these phases and they've found their selected candidates and they believe that the match is good, then we also provide retention support by ensuring that both the employer as well as the client needs are met. Lastly, and most importantly, we're going to talk a lot about our Canada Ontario Job Grant. That is a new job grant, not so new, but a fairly new job grant, which is available in Ontario for all employers. Ontario's workforce is our most valuable asset, and as new technologies, globalization, and shifting demographics rapidly change, Ontario's economy, they alter the mix of available jobs and the skills people need to succeed in these jobs. By building up education and training support, we can ensure that we maintain Ontario's competitive advantage, helping businesses and workers adapt to the change and achieve their goals. The Canada Ontario Job Grant is an Ontario government funding provided that offers training grants to employers. This grant is available for employers to train their new or existing employees and boosting their workforce with the help of the government. Funding provided by the Government of Canada through the Canada Ontario Job Grant Program. Knowing more about the Canada Ontario Job Grant here. So under Canada Ontario Job Grant, employer can get up to $10,000 in government support per person for training cost. And I would like to say that again, this training support is available for their existing staff members as well as any new job seeker or employee that they onboard. The intent behind this training is to ensure that either they are getting or they're entering into the workforce or they are moving up in their position. There should be an increase in pay or there should be a change in role. The training has to be delivered by an eligible third-party trainer. It cannot be in-house training and it could not be provided directly by the management team of the organization. Employers with 100 or more employees would need to contribute half, that is 50% of the training cost, whereas small employers with less than 100 employees need to contribute 1/6 of the training cost. If you are not sure where you fall or if there are other subsidies, I highly recommend you connect with our organization and we'll be able to help you through. This training cost includes the tuition cost, books, supplies, as well as the travel cost. And there is a few more information. I actually would like to stop it here and bring your attention back to the Canada Ontario Job Grant platform. So this is a ministry platform where employers can choose to apply for COJG funding. It is pretty simple, but as you see, there are multiple documents that needs to be filled out. As an employer, what you would primarily have to do is select on apply now, and there would be a whole application which would be coming through. Once you've filled out the information along with the employee that you want the training to be taking place with, what kind of role they'll have, what will be their current wage, what would be their new proposed wage or their current title, what will be the change in title. Once all that information is provided, this information is provided to all the EO service providers, including Spark Employment Services. Once we have received that information, our steps is to verify that information and connect with an employer. Once Spark connects with an employer, all these documents from training provider information sheet to the attestation forms, along with some overview questions about the training, is asked by our job developers to the employer. During this time, if an employer has any question or any concern with the training provider, they can freely come to us and let us know so that we can help them secure another training or find another training provider to ease that transition. I would stop sharing the screen and go back to my presentation. There's quite a few back and forth there. I appreciate you guys being patient with me here. And there we go. And that brings us to the very end of what we had for Canada Ontario Job Grant and other services. If as an employer, you would like to get latest updates about the events, latest job postings, we also do open hires and job fairs, depending on the employer request. And if there is any additional training support that is required, we also do training events with the employer. If you would like to do that, please follow us on social media or feel free to connect with us. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. I do have the platform open for all kinds of questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Dhwani and Pierre, for your presentations today. We're going to open up to questions, so I'll invite the attendees to go ahead and to type your questions in the chat. While you do that, I have some questions that I'm curious about. Okay, so and this goes to both programs for, when is the best time to apply? Is there a best time to apply?
Pierre, should I continue or do you want to say for your NRHC first? Okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay, as for us, Melissa, depending on which service you're looking at, all our services are provided throughout the year. So I highly encourage at any point would be okay for an employer. For Canada Ontario Job Grant, there is a mandate provided to every EO provider to spend X number of applications or approve X number of applications. If that is done, that does not mean an employer won't be supported. All that means is we would be referring them to a next EO provider for getting that support.
Okay. So when you have a number you want to meet, when is year end? Is it in March, April?
It is, yes, it does end in March every year.
Okay.
But like I said, we have always received more applications than we're supposed to, but collectively, so far, we have not declined any employer saying it won't be possible. Yeah.
Okay, and for NHSC is very similar. There is no application deadline, I guess I will refer to it as. You have to apply as the employer before you hire that individual. That's a key component, which I'm sure is similar to other programs. I would suggest that you likely want to apply before you even post the position, because in some cases they ask that the NHSC logo, if it's approved, which will take some time to get to. If it's approved, then in some cases they want the NHSC logo to appear in that job ad. It has to be a competitive process. You can't just hire individuals because you know them or because they're family or they've been around for a while. There is a competitive process that has to be gone through, but yeah, it's ongoing. There's no deadlines. The sooner you get the application in, I always tell my clients, the sooner you'll get a response back. And in this case, it's not terribly complicated. They're looking for, what type of position you're hiring, what are their responsibilities going to be, who the supervisor is going to be, and then the timing. So those are the kind of the key pieces, and obviously how much you're paying them, which will inform how much you can request from the NHSC.
Okay, Great. So how, excuse me, how long is the application process? So the process in total. So from the moment I apply, and let's say I did qualify and meet all the criteria to, how long is that process in total?
So for COJG, the process would start the minute you start applying now, which ideally somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks is what usually employer gives themselves. Again, because that time is required to verify the employer's eligibility along with the training provider eligibility. But if an employer is, let's say, 2 weeks in, they've just hired someone and the new training is starting in 2 weeks, we are pretty flexible in ensuring that all the paperwork is done. So I would say from minimum 2 weeks and up to 6 weeks.
And Pierre, what about you?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to look it up and trying to see if they actually have a defined time frame in their Q&As on the website. I don't see it, but I would say very similar to what Dhwani just said. I don't know that 2 weeks is doable at the University side, but certainly that 6 to 8 weeks time frame is probably more accurate and more indicative of the time frame. What you have to remember is with all programs, it does go through a review and analysis process, which includes do you have existing interns with InterC and those types of things. But and then it has to go to a board of directors for a decision to be made. So those or it goes to a specific committee, I should say, in this case, for the people in the talent program for them to make decisions. So those don't happen every week, but they do happen regularly. They are scheduled and they are verified as they come in. So back to my point and Dhwani's point about the sooner the better, or as soon as you have an indication. Not now because I want to apply for a position I'm hiring in 3 years. You do have to be ready to hire that individual at fairly short notice. But yeah, I would say 6 to 8 weeks, and then allow some time for an agreement to be drafted as well. 6 to 8 weeks does not. Back to your question, Melissa, it's not how quickly you can get the funding, it's how quickly you can get a decision made and at least start the process for hiring if you haven't already, which I suggested earlier. You probably don't want to hire before you find out, as it could cause some issues. But at least once you've got that decision made, it comes back to you in writing. And then because it's on a reimbursement basis, InterC typically does only 1 or 2 reimbursements throughout the year for the salaries.
Okay, that's some great information from you both. We do have a question in the chat from Fanad. If the current employee want to enhance their skill set, is there any grant available for training?
I could answer that. So COJG would be applicable for that because under Canada Ontario Job Grant, if you are a current existing employee and you're getting a change in status or change in pay or getting a new skill set altogether, which would enhance your job performance in the organization, COJG would be an apt fit. That being said, the employer would have to understand that they would be paying a portion of that training. It could be 1/6 if they have less than 100 employees, or it could be half if they have more than 100 employees. If, on the other hand, as a job seeker or as an existing employee somewhere else, you are looking to enhance your skill set through any kind of soft skill or technical skills training, I highly recommend you connect with Spark because we do have free training opportunities available for people who are either employed or are looking for work.
I'm just going to put that link in the chat here, and please, Dhwani, correct me if it's incorrect. Okay.
Sorry, I'll just
and
add to that. I'm glad that Spark has something because NRC only does the salaries, as I suggested before, no training. So I just wanted to confirm or add that extra piece of information there.
absolutely. And kind of like a follow-up question from the whole presentation, Would you say that a really wonderful flow of funding can consist of approaching NUHSC first, looking to hire, being approved to hire the right person? Once they are established at your company, approaching Spark, getting the government grant for training, and then have them fully trained. Does that feel like a good?
I would add to that. I would say yes, first of all, to the question in general. And let me kind of walk through, in my mind, the sequence maybe. The internship position is 52 weeks full-time permanent, right? So I can see at the end of that internship, the program's objectives is to have that individual better prepared for the workforce. So I would suspect after 1 year they've had the 1 year's experience, they've got, experience with you. So if you want to keep them on, but as has already been suggested, it's a different position or a higher paid position or something new. Yeah, you've paid for their salaries or at least half their salaries for a year through, the government support. Then that's when Spark can come in and, maybe help them stay with you, but in a different role. And I don't want to speak on your behalf, Dhwani, but yes, Melissa, I think seems like a natural kind of a process. If they don't stay with you, that's unfortunate, and that's out of your control, obviously. But if you are looking at keeping them on, but that training will help, or that funding towards the training will help, it's definitely an option to be considered.
Just to add to that, Pierre, I would say if an individual has started as an intern for 52 weeks, and if the employer is giving them an opportunity to stay further in a permanent role, that is a change in position. So they can definitely apply for COJG, even if the title remains the same, because the status for the position has changed. Anybody who is part-time going to full-time would also be considered under COJG. And sorry, I keep saying COJG, it is the Canada Ontario Job Grant. If any individual who is looking to get even a dollar raise, that would also be considered under Canada Ontario Job Grant as well.
Thank you so much for like explaining that, because that is news to me too. So that's great. Okay, if there are no further questions, we'll end our presentation here. This video was recorded, so thank you so much to our speakers. We'll be posting the video on our website as well for anybody who might have missed it. And we'll also be following up with a short survey to our viewers just to see how this information pertains to what you're looking to learn. And on that, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Halloween.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.